What's up, y'all? I'm immediately back the next day. Didn't expect that big a response, so that was dope. I'll say that also I tried to keep it under 10 minutes so that it could be shareable. Today, I don't know if it's going to make it under 10 minutes, so you might have to go to YouTube to finish this video, but that is my intent. So, picking up where I left off, and by the way, I'm not telling my personal story literally for fear of it fucking up a settlement. So, as soon as that comes through, I'll tell you all about it because it's wild. Well, let's just start with the state of real estate. Now, I got a lot of messages. It's not just LA, it's actually everywhere. And I think this is important to note because it's China, it's Germany, it's Toronto, it's Vancouver, it's
Can you imagine that China's entire real estate market is teetering on the brink overnight? Major corporations like Evergrande, Wanda, and local developers are all drowning in debt and on the verge of collapse.
Canada is sitting on the largest housing bubble of all time, according to a strategist.
It's Austin, it's Nashville, it's Portland, it's Seattle. It's literally everywhere because of the reach of some of these companies. Now, what I'm going to do in this video is include clips of people who say these things better than me. But to really understand what's happening, you're going to have to take a journey with me here. That, like, you're going to have to start paying attention to things you don't normally pay attention to. Yeah, and I know that that scares some people more than like anything else, but you're gonna have to start paying attention. And I'm gonna jump right off the bat and say, when we vote in whatever elections going forward, you have to vote for people who literally only care about your economic interest, because all of the other things are piled on top of this, and we'll get into it in a minute, but
it's been almost 6 months since racist comments and leaked audio by council members rock Los Angeles City Hall. But one of those council members, Kevin De Leon, has managed to stay in his job. A fourth recall attempt failed last week.
You have your sworn duty to do everything within your power to make life better for your constituents, and that's what we've been doing. Interestingly, nothing has dramatically changed per se, because we've been doing the same thing.
If people don't solve these problems, we will keep having homelessness, we will keep having riots and fighting and even like racism. Like, all this shit is built on top of the idea that some people have something and some people don't. And what we have in America is some people have a lot of houses, like 80% of Airbnbs run by like 60% of the people or something, like something ridiculous. And then you have people who don't. So I'm going to start with Zillow here. Now, Zillow is the tool that I've been using to find apartments most. You can also use apartments.com, Redfin. I don't know. There's a bunch of resources, but I found that the most listings are on Zillow. This is important. I don't know Zillow's business model, but I know every single time there's a free tool for us, we're getting fucked. I don't care what it is. It's free. You're getting fucked. In Zillow's case, one thing that I noticed that led me to a lot of these conclusions is they list the days on market. When you're looking for a place, check out the days on market every time you can. Some of them will not have it listed on purpose, but the ones that do, you'll start to see some interesting trends. I see apartments that have been empty for a year, listed, removed, listed, removed. With the price increasing, listed, removed, and now staying flat, listed, removed. This is important. So if I was going to go in and negotiate for an apartment, I would say, oh, this apartment's been on market for like 50 days. You can't get rid of this, can you? You're struggling. When you're talking to a corporation, you don't have that, especially if they remove the list days, because they're going to manipulate that. And so in order to understand that they can manipulate that, we have to understand two things. One, that we almost exclusively get our listings now online. And two, there's great incentive for them to use that information to help their business. So we have to literally have some sort of vote to stop companies like Zillow from allowing that to happen. We have to have some sort of vote to stop companies, even if Zillow can't stop it, from doing that. That is fucking you. You have no idea what the inventory is at any given moment. It's always higher than you think. I'm so tired of watching videos like if I watch CNBC or something, it's like, oh, well, we're going to need 2 million more units of supply to meet demand. And it's like, only if demand is one person buys 17 houses. Yes, we need 2 million a year. Where the fuck are we going to put them? I live in LA. It's the city created by NIMBYs.
And it's this core tenet that's causing such massive problems. Californians, after all, desperately want to keep what they were sold on, and they're willing to fight for it. Take Atherton, a small Silicon Valley town just minutes away from Stanford. In 2022, to keep up with state mandates on housing requirements, the city council began the process of rezoning one single-family lot to build an apartment building. The project was quickly axed. It wasn't a lack of money or a lack of municipal will. It was axed because the city's most influential, powerful executives and even basketball player Steph Curry banded together and pressured the city out of it. To them, the project would hurt their property values, cut off their views, change the character of the community, and create more traffic. So the project and its 16 units of desperately needed housing died on the vine and forced city planners back to the drawing board. While the characters might not be as high profile as those in Atherton, this happens all the time, all over the state. Here, the city government decided to designate itself as a mountain lion sanctuary, which was odd, but conveniently allowed it to forego new housing development. Here, in 2019, construction on a 154-bed shelter broke ground only for Venice Beach to sue the city of Los Angeles to halt construction. Here, residents of San Francisco's Embarcadero area did the same, suing the city over establishing a 200-bed shelter in the same neighborhood. And across the larger Bay Area, those who want California to stay the same low-density California of old have created their own organizations, councils, and committees. Better Cupertino and Palo Alto for Sensible Zoning, to name a few.
And they started out white NIMBYs, and then eventually became black NIMBYs. I hate to say it, but it's true. My grandmother was so adamant that she did not want a Walmart within like 100 yards or 100 miles of her fucking house that it was unreal. But she learned it from being around here. Oh, that's what wealthy people do. Zillow just announced a 1% rate for buying a house. Why would they do that? I'm going to let, again, smarter men than me discuss that, but
I just go online, look for some homes, and see what's happening in Phoenix. Maybe this could explain the reason why they would just, miraculously decide to put this program out right now. So let's take a look, guys. Looky here. It went all the way from $552 all the way up to $495. $52,000. A little bit more than that. But let's just keep it around $50,000, right? A $50,000 change in purchase price. Would you rather save 2% or would you rather save 10% on the price change? And this is what I'm talking about, guys. When you take a look at stuff like this, this is the reason why I say it's so important, so important to look at your local market.
all of these things tie in. Why? Well, as the man just said, I believe, the banks are fucked. Like, really think about this. What happened in 2008? Why is everyone watching The Big Short again? Well, mortgage-backed securities, a term we all know now, but we don't really know what it means. We're at play? I don't know. I can say that I've watched enough and read enough now to know exactly what happened. And it's happening again now. And again, I'm going to let better people than me speak on it.
Because their net interest income is all that's keeping them afloat, keeping them alive, as their lending businesses have slowed dramatically. One of them is Bank OZK with 38% of their deposit base. And remember, this is one of the banks that Moody's just put on a negative watch list last week. Likewise, Ally Financial, they have a whole host of issues and was also put on negative watch by Moody's. Take a look at this piece on Yahoo Finance 2 days ago about Ally. It's titled "Another Thing for Banks to Worry About: Credit Card Delinquencies." They specifically highlight Ally Bank. Listen to this. They write, "The return of student loan repayments in October could also make financial matters worse for some consumers, forcing them to pull back on their spending in other areas such as credit card repayments. Loan losses from credit cards and auto loans are the big issue that certain banks have to now worry about, the way that other banks worry about commercial real estate.
But nobody has credit. Nobody's paying their mortgage. Like, literally, if you're watching this and you're like, damn, I'm so alone. I am 3 months behind on rent. I'm 2 months behind on my car. I haven't paid my credit card. My student loans are coming back up. This is so important. I want you to know that that is every single motherfucker you know. I play golf with a wide range of ages of people and success levels, people that I'm like, damn, that would be dope to be there one day. Everybody feels it. And part of the reason for that is that everything sucks. Wages are down. Again, I'm going to let these people talk about it, but wages are down. Prices are up.
They revised the payroll reports for the last 2 months by accumulated 110,000. It's gotten really out of hand here. The trend is too high in the statistics, which means it's actually coming down. At the same time, the economy is decelerating. That's where you cross the zero boundary, but we may not know it for several months after it actually happens. And I'll give you an example. The June payroll number came out to be, when it was initially publicized back in early July, they said it was plus 209,000. Not a great number, but also not a bad one either. After 2 revisions, now they say it was 105,000, half of what they initially started with. And if they had said 105,000 back in early July, the reaction would have been very different because everybody would have said, that's a really concerning number.
The Fed is trying to, curb inflation by keeping the interest rate up, which is fucking you. Now, it's supposed to fuck everybody, but companies have huge piles of reserves, billions of dollars, some of them, to offset this. The ones that don't are also going to get fucked. Like, downtown is empty. Whew. That's part of the reason I know the rent is jacked, because there's literally no industry to bring people here to move into those places.
All right, so let's check this out. Put together by Albert Edwards over at SocGen Research Team. This entire piece is just great. He opens the report saying this: history shows that to the limited extent economists do actually predict recessions, its tardiness usually means they give up waiting just at the point that it arrives, the bus stop dilemma. The resilience of corporate profits has been a key reason this recession has been delayed so far, especially as companies in aggregate are now a net beneficiary of higher rates. Yet beneath the mega caps, the vast bulk of companies are in big trouble. Now, he goes on to explain what we've been highlighting on this channel for the last 6 months, what we just outlined at the beginning of the video, this burning sensation that most of the corporate world is feeling right now from the banks turning off the flow of easy money.
There's a housing shortage. No, there isn't. There's a shortage of people keeping it fucking 100 with you. Why? Well, then, because I'm thinking like, okay, I guess I'm taking a risk making a movie like a video like this, but what are the risks? Like, you guys all go look for apartments at the same time? Okay. But you all go in and say, I will literally pay half or fuck you. How is that hurting me? That's all of us doing it together. You really need to think about why the real estate market is the way it is, besides the facts and the figures. It's us. This is America. This is what we signed up for. Yeah, even the people who didn't sign up for it. Because the idea always was, from the minute that ship left England, to beat the law to the cause. Meaning, I'm going to make something cool, so cool that enough people will like it that they'll be forced to change the law. Literally, that was the Tea Party. People were like, I think we can make money over here. They also brought over prisoners and shit. Like, it's like Australia. Like, literally look this up. And they just started building. They took whatever and they just started building. Then it was manifest destiny. Like, if you can get there first, go take some land. Then it was the first person to fuck this up. I got to look up his name. Cornelius the Commodore Vanderbilt is the first person to take that concept and make it what we have today. He decided, if I own one railroad, that's cool. What if I own all the railroads? I'll be a boss. And then J.D. Rockefeller's like, damn, what if I own all the railroad, all the oil? I'll be a boss. And then JP Morgan is like, what if I just own everything?
1871, John saw the golden opportunity to team up with one of the leading financiers in the country, a banker named Anthony Drexel. Together, they founded the Drexel Morgan & Co. private merchant banking house, which was later renamed to simply JP Morgan & Co. And this would be the firm that John would manage for the rest of his life, serving as the precursor to the modern banking titan we know today as JP Morgan Chase. But the railroads weren't monopolized. Actually, it was the opposite. There were so many competing companies that offered very similar routes that they often slashed their prices to try and win customers. But whereas most looked at the railroad business and saw fierce competition, John saw opportunity. He felt the answer was consolidation, merging railroads together rather than competing. That's because John knew that the bigger a business got, the more it could benefit from economies of scale. So John's goal was always to turn multiple small companies into one unified conglomerate. Suddenly, rather than competing against each other and driving down prices, they could set whatever prices they wanted as they owned all the nearby railroads.
And then everything broke. Why? Because there was a trigger, World War I. Then there was the Roaring '20s, and then it all fucking collapsed. And that's when we created the Fed. Now, first of all, JP Morgan saved America by basically acting like the Fed, by getting all his rich friends together to come up with a plan that is currently still our plan.
And locked the door while the bankers negotiated amongst themselves, literally locking them in until they agreed on a resolution. By the morning, everyone had agreed with John's plan, and with Roosevelt's approval, the US Treasury also contributed $25 million, showing the level of trust and respect the president had for John's business sense. What's remarkable is that John was 70 years old at this point, and negotiated all of this whilst having a terrible cold, meaning he was constantly coughing and sneezing while saving the US economy. But his plan ultimately worked. Lots of capital was injected back into the economy, public confidence was restored in America's banking system, and yet another economic disaster was averted thanks to John.
That was only edited when the government realized we can't keep having JP Morgans do this. We're going to need something else. And they created the Fed to essentially make sure that when people fuck everybody, there's someone to come in and back it up.
Meanwhile, the Pujo Committee paved the way for the establishment of the Federal Reserve, since it was clear they couldn't just rely on a handful of ultra-rich and powerful individuals.
Like, and essentially that's when we became debt-based, right? Like, literally everything we buy now is with the idea that it will be indebted. Student loans, cars, housing. There's almost no expectation in America to just buy something with like money. But again, we are used to this now. But as it's progressed, then you get Nixon, then you get Reagan, and I would love to say that Democrats and like liberal people didn't play a role in this, but they all have. Nancy Pelosi's rich as fuck, dog.
In the 2 years following the 2008 financial crisis, the Pelosi's estimated net worth grew from $31 million to over $100 million. That's up 220%, all while the S&P 500 fell by 13%. The Pelosi's also did super well during the pandemic, seeing their net worth jump from $106 million to $171 million within like the 2 years of the pandemic.
Nancy, I want to say it again. Nancy Pelosi is rich as fuck, dog. She trades, like, I looked all this shit up. Do you know the market, like, like the best, like Warren Buffett, I want to say. I'm going to look this up so I don't get it wrong. Okay. Warren Buffett's portfolio in the last 30 years, he's considered the most successful investor like ever, or one of them. 9.47 annual return, which is like not only amazing, but like beats the market by like several points. Now, again, I could be saying this wrong, so the finance people like correct me in the specifics, but I know what I'm trying to say here. Nancy Pelosi's annual return is like 23%. How, Sway? How? What are we talking about? And she's supposed to stop people like Zillow from fucking us? This is what it's supposed to be. You get there first, you take it over, and you fuck everybody else behind you. Pyramid schemes, there's a reason everyone wants to be in one. Because it's easy. That's America. No, I'm so serious here. Really consider this. Like, what did Microsoft do? Like, I'm sure it was a great company, but as soon as they got big, they're then like, all right, we're going to fuck Netscape, we're going to fuck Apple, we're going to fuck everybody else. Fuck them. It's us, and then everything else burns. Once Facebook, like, it's like, actually, let's take Facebook. Because starting with Facebook to like all the apps we have now, They are all fucking us, right? They make something we never asked for. Never in my life was I like, I need Uber. I needed taxis to be a bit more reasonable. I never needed Uber. Part of the reason taxis were unreasonable is because of how taxi licensing worked. They keep supply low. It's a whole thing. That could have been edited. They tried it in Vancouver. But I never asked for Uber. Uber completely changed how my whole city works. And then the price went up 5x. And now I'm fucking stuck. I didn't ask for Airbnb. I mean, I liked that there was like cool houses to rent. And then I liked that some friends were making some money. And then I liked that, I could get like slightly cheaper than a hotel. And now that none of that exists, I don't fucking need Airbnb. Do you understand this is everything? So we want to focus on the real estate because we're like, I have subscriptions I think I'll just have for the rest of my life. Like, I think I'll just have them. Like, the fuck else? I bought Adobe Creative Suite in 2000 I pirated Adobe Creative Suite in 2007. When I finally made enough money to really afford it, I bought it in like 2010. Then they switched to subscription however many years ago. I have paid like 10x that one time I bought it for this fucking thing now. This is everything. We are doing it to each other. All of us. I guess not me because I'm a fucking artist, but even when I write articles, like there's somebody paying somebody that says, no. We are all in a business with no. And we know when that point comes. And all of us look at it like, oh, damn, I guess that's where we suck. Then you switch companies. I played basketball on a lot of different teams. Even the best ones fucking suck. Not because it sucks to be there or something, but because, I don't know, something about running an organization that big means part of it has to be ass because you have to compete against somebody who wants to JP Morgan your ass. Who wants to like, what the fuck was all this like hostile takeover shit in the 80s? I was born in the 80s when greed was good. Has greed been good? There's a scene in the movie Wolf of Wall Street, the new one. I never saw the original one, where Shia LaBeouf asks his boss, the evil guy, like, when does it stop? And or like, what do you want? And the guy goes, more. And I know the people who want more. I was in New York, and me and my boy Brad were looking for a place to eat lunch. By the way, real estate in New York is fucking horrible. Everything in New York is horrible. Talk about getting squeezed. Everything is a squeeze. Everything is a squeeze. We're trying to find somewhere cool to eat near Soho House because we're trying to be fancy, and there's nowhere cool to eat. So we end up sitting at a place called Patsy's. And as soon as I sat down there, I'm like, oh, this is what's wrong. Like, not only do I hate this restaurant, but everyone in it loves it. But I don't think they love it. They love the idea that they get to say that they're there. New York is the best example of everything I'm talking about. Comfort is a premium. Silence is costworthy. They sold the rights to your air for empty buildings. I want to say this again. I don't know if people know what happened in New York. Billionaires Row was built in New York. It's all these super tall pencil buildings. Most of them have one floor as an apartment. A lot of them have two. These things are like 3 times bigger than the buildings next to them, 10 times in some cases, and they are fucking empty.
This is Billionaires Row. You've probably seen these buildings on social media. They're a stretch of homes in New York City that only the world's richest people can afford to live in.
Billionaires Row here in New York City set off a super slender skyscraper revolution. Today, those towers are an astounding display of wealth, prestige, and engineering firsts. But they're also kind of empty.
Why are they there? Someone bought over a period of time, literal air rights. Like, that's the thing. As an average person, once you get any amount of money, now you're like, oh, I want to do what that guy did. You can't. They bought the air, bitch. It's gone. Like for fucking ever? Like literally no one else can like that. Like what the fuck does all of this mean? Like somebody answer that for me.
None of the developers on Billionaires Row would respond to our repeated requests for comments on the issues raised in this video.
I hope that in 10 years' time, we look back at Billionaires Row as a phenomenal mistake and a dozen missed opportunities. And the most important thing that I hope comes out of Billionaires Row is that the city changes the way that it taxes property, changes the way that it does incentive zoning to actually get the most and a fair distribution of payments.
In Vancouver, there's entire streets like where kids grew up, like just fucking empty. But also, the people who lived in those houses sold them. It's us, right? Like if I said, man, like 2 of my neighbors moved out of this street, I have 2 options. This is my street. Or I can be like, I never really cared that much. So when the kids grow up and they're like, man, my whole street is sold, bitch, actually blame your parents. Talk to them, be like, why the fuck did you have to sell? Well, there was money in it. What? Well, now you're upside down on 4 mortgages, Dad. Like we actually don't ever question how any of this works together. So now Vancouver, when I first got there, they were super racist against Asian people because all those units sold were sold to Chinese people who didn't live in town. So now that's why the ghost towns happen. So now people are like, the Chinese people bought our land, and it's like, you fucking sold it because you saw a gold rush. Man, I might not even cut in the videos. I'm gonna just put links to videos in the description because I don't even want to edit this anymore. I don't want to edit it at all. Like, it's us. We are allowing all of this because we're scared, we're embarrassed. We all think we're the only ones struggling. We don't talk to each other. And it's all by design because we're getting squeezed by every algorithm. Like, I'm not even sure this video will reach you. There's people with incentive for it not to. We have to fucking start over.